All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about measurement uncertainties. So this is our uncertainties when we actually take measurements. That should be an A. And the two main, I'm so bad at spelling. The two main things we have to worry about measurement uncertainties is digital measurements and just regular old analog type measurements. So we'll talk about digital ones first. This would be like if you're reading a digital scale, if you're trying to mass something, or you have a digital thermometer or something like that. And so on your little screen, what you're going to see is something along the lines like, hey, here's my little screen, and I've got, it tells me it's 23.2, and then off the little side it's a little gram or something like that. Well, when you look at this, what's the uncertainty in this measurement? Because it doesn't go beyond the little tenth right there, the tenth of a gram. So, what is this? Well, you have to remember this is a rounded off digit. This last digit here is, this one right here is rounded off. And so, in order to decide, well, what is the range this could be in, is you just have to basically look, what would round off to be that value? And the smallest things could be something like, or I guess I should say the largest could be 23.24 grams, and that would round down to 23.2. So this would be your high end, and then you could also have 23.15 grams, and that would round up to 23.2. And so the actual value has to be somewhere in between these two. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to look at your smallest measurement down here, which is the tenths place of a gram, and it'll be plus or minus that one of those little measurements. So this would be 23.2 plus or minus 0.1 for the grams there. Okay? So that would be your uncertainty, because that's about as accurate, because 0.24 and 0.15, they're about 0.1 off from each other. So you would go just up or down that amount. It might actually be, like, say your scale was slightly off and somebody else got, their scale was off by, a hundredth of a gram from yours. They might actually get 23.3 when you got 23.2. So it might be a 0.3 here for them. Somebody else, they could be off in the other way as well. The other thing to do other than digital is when you're measuring something like with a ruler, something where you're trying to eyeball it, and you basically want to go with a tenth of your smallest degree. So if we have our ruler here and we have a little division on every centimeter or so, so this would be our 1 centimeter, our 2 centimeter, our 3 centimeters, and we put something here we wanted to measure the length of. We'll just put a little arrow here. You could look at this and you'd say, all right, this is 2, and then you can kind of just eyeball it. You can break up between 2 and 3 into about 10 places by eyeballing it, and I may call this 2.2. Somebody else may look at it and say that it's 2.3. Somebody else maybe, thinks it's 2.4 or something like that. Just, you're going to probably all be within a tenth of your smallest measurement here. Our smallest measurements, if these were centimeters, would be centimeters, and so these would be a tenth of a centimeter. So we would probably report our answer. I might put it as 2.2 plus or minus 0.1. They would do plus or minus 0.1. But we're all going to be within about a tenth of the smallest degree here from each other. Now, if our ruler was a little better and say it had tenth measurements in it, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, then in that case, you can go a little further. You can look at this and say, all right, this is definitely right at this 2 and 2.3, and it's actually just maybe a slightly before it. So I would then say, I think this is 2.29, and somebody else might think it's 2.28, or they might think it's 2.30. But again, you go with a tenth, 1/10 of your smallest measurement. Your smallest measurement is the tenth of a centimeter, so you go with a tenth of that, which is a 100th of a centimeter. So this would be plus or minus 0.01. And so for this kind, a tenth of your smallest measurement is where you're going to be. And for this kind, you basically just go up or down one of your smallest measurements. Okay, that's all.